with Galia and Phyllis. Galia Barker, I would like to introduce, is a former church organist and piano teacher. She worked for many years on the Dean's strategic planning staff at St. Louis University School of Medicine, and after retiring, became a docent with Opera Theater of St. Louis. This experience has given Galia the opportunity to share her knowledge and love of opera with others. And also, Phyllis Hyken is our other presenter today and is a retired piano teacher, pianist, and accompanist. She has been a docent for Opera Theater of St. Louis since 2008. She enjoys researching and learning about operas, and she loves speaking to audiences about all the operas that she has experienced. So I'm going to turn it over to Galia and Phyllis. Welcome.
Thank you, Judy. Welcome, everybody. So happy to see all of you here today. We're going to talk to you about the influence of gardens and flowers, in particular operas that we have selected for your enjoyment today. Through the power of Zoom, Phyllis and I are going to play some excerpts from these operas. And there's a set of contrasting operas, so you'll get a sense of some different settings and some different styles of music. But we're demonstrating the various ways composers have used garden settings and particular flowers to enhance the power of their music and add depth to their characters. Phyllis and I are both docents at Opera Theater, as Judy mentioned, and normally we would be giving this talk in person, but because of the pandemic, Opera Theater has been training us to create Zoom talks like this one. Our first opera.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Could you advance to there we are. Okay, our first opera is Lakmé by the French composer Leo Delibes. Lakmé premiered in Paris in 1883 at the famous Opéra Comique. Delibes based his libretto on a novel by another Frenchman, the author Pierre Loti. After traveling in the East, Loti became enamored with exotic stories, something that was already in vogue thanks to Bizet's The Pearl Fishers, another opera filled with mysterious rituals in an exotic setting. Our opera Lakmé is set in 19th century India when it was under British rule. The title character is the daughter of a Brahmin priest named Nilakantha. Forbidden by the British to practice his religion, Nilakantha is secretly leading a group of faithful followers. And it is daughter's belief that she is responsible for protecting these worshippers from harm. But when Lakmé falls in love with a British officer named Gerald, a cross-cultural tragedy starts to unfold. Lakmé's father is violently opposed to this relationship and forces his daughter to choose between her devotion to him and her love for Gerald. Instead, Lakmé ends her life by eating the poisonous night-blooming datura plant. The musical excerpt we're playing for you, this flower duet, occurs much earlier in Act 1. Our heroine, Lakmé, and her servant Malika are in a sacred garden on the grounds of a Brahmin temple. They sing a lovely duet as they prepare to bathe in a nearby stream. Their music is in the style of a barcarolle, originally a Venetian boatman's song. You know the melody, lightly floats our bonny boat. That's a barcarolle. Their voices blend perfectly. The melody ripples along with the water. Midway through the duet, the music changes when Malika suggests that they gather lotus blossoms for the good luck god Ganesha. Afterwards, the opening melody returns. So it's an ABA structure. Here is Delibes' famous flower duet sung by Lakmé and her servant in a sacred Brahmin garden.
son parle de moi. Comme mon père et ma sœur et leur fille m'ont dit, je tremble d'effroi. Pour que le Dieu connaissant me protège, jusqu'à l'étang où c'est pas de joie. Les signes aux ailes de nage, en ont payé les notes une nuit qui signe aux ailes de neige, en accueilli les notes
Puccini's last opera, Turandot, is set in ancient China. Actually, Puccini died before the opera was completed. It premiered at La Scala 2 years after his death in 1926, with Toscanini conducting. The opera is based on Schiller's adaptation of a Chinese legend. It's a story about the beautiful but heartless Princess Turandot, who despises all men and spurns marriage by requiring that all her suitors answer 3 seemingly impossible riddles. Failure to answer correctly leads to death, a fate that many suitors have already suffered. Enter Prince Calaf, who is transfixed by Turandot's beauty. Calaf successfully answers all 3 riddles, but he truly loves the princess and wants to earn her love. He offers her a way out. If you can learn my name before the break of dawn, I will forfeit my life. If not, we will marry. Turandot then issues an imperial proclamation. No one in Peking shall sleep until the suitor's name is disclosed. If unsuccessful, all will be executed. So now imagine you're in the darkness of the imperial palace garden. Calaf sings the famous tenor aria Nessun Dorma, None Shall Sleep. The aria opens with an echo of Turandot's proclamation, Nessun Dorma, Nessun Dorma, none shall sleep, none shall sleep. This is followed by Calaf's claim, my secret is hidden within me. Then a chorus of women sings, no one will know his name, and we must, alas, die, die. The aria closes with Calaf claiming his expected victory. I will win, I will win. But no one dies. Calaf's impetuous kiss unlocks Turandot's cold heart. She feels emotion for the first time and weeps. Certain of winning her hand, Calaf reveals his name to her. My name is Love. Here's a young Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma, None Shall Sleep, from Puccini's final opera, Turandot.
Our next featured opera is La Traviata by the great Italian composer Giuseppe Verdi. La Traviata is a cornerstone of the operatic repertory and is filled with melodies that have become wildly famous. One example of this is the movie Pretty Woman, starring Julia Roberts, which featured background music from La Traviata. Inspiration for Verdi's libretto came from a play that was adapted from the novel La Dame aux Camélias, The Lady of the Camellias. Both novel and play were by Frenchman Dumas the Younger. Dumas based his story on the life of a sophisticated French courtesan named Marie Rose Duplessis. Dumas himself had an affair with her, and in 1847, Duplessis died from consumption at age 23. A year after her death, Dumas wrote his now famous novel about a woman he called Marguerite, a beautiful courtesan who longs for true love and is partial to camellias. After Dumas turned his popular novel into a play, Verdi was in the audience, and he realized the story's dramatic potential. A year later, in 1853, La Traviata premiered in Venice. Verdi changed the name of his heroine to Violetta, or Violet, but maintained Dumas' sympathetic portrait of a woman who embraced the life of a courtesan, but who secretly yearns for love. Even Verdi's title is sympathetic. La Traviata means someone who has lost their way. Our excerpt from this opera comes from Act 1. The scene showcases Violetta's sumptuous salon in Paris, where she sings for her friends during a party. Let us be joyful, for love is a fleeting and short-lived joy, a flower that blossoms and fades. Violetta, already ill from consumption, starts to feel faint. Her friends barely notice, but Alfredo, who secretly loves her, is concerned and takes this opportunity to declare his love for Violetta. His music and words are suitably passionate as he sings for Violetta, but Violetta tosses them aside and rejects Alfredo's romantic overtures, responding, "Love, I fear, can never be. Friendship is all I can offer. I'm dedicated to a life of gaiety." But when their voices combine, Alfredo's solo becomes a duet. A brief descending melody called a falling in love motif confirms that they are now a couple. And before Alfredo leaves Violetta, she gives him a camellia and invites him to return when the flower has withered. "Domani? Tomorrow?" he asks. "Yes, tomorrow," she replies. This flower becomes a symbol for Violetta's fragile life and the purity of her virtue, despite her circumstances. Here is the lovers' duet from Verdi's La Traviata. In this production, notice that Violetta's dress is decorated with tiny flowers and there's a camellia tucked inside the neckline.
The next song we're going to hear, the Flower Song from Carmen by Bizet. Another flower figures prominently in the tragic opera Carmen by French composer Georges Bizet. Carmen is based on a novel by Mallarmé and premiered at the Opera Comique in Paris in 1875. The opening night audience was shocked at this story that featured an immoral woman who dies during a very graphic onstage stabbing. Other less conservative audiences were enthusiastic and applauded this opera that paved the way for verisme, or realistic opera. The excerpt we're playing is the Flower Song from Act 2. Don Jose, a corporal, has been assigned to a military post located near a cigarette factory in Seville. A gypsy named Carmen is among the factory workers. When the women take breaks, the soldiers enjoy flirting with them, especially with Carmen, who encourages their attention. But Don Jose, who is promised to a nice, upstanding girl from the country, ignores Carmen. Carmen notices this and provocatively throws a flower in his direction. According to Carmen, this flower has the magic power to make Don Jose love her and do her bidding. And so it does. When Carmen is arrested for seriously attacking a fellow worker, Don Jose allows her to escape and goes to jail in her place. This thrown flower becomes the centerpiece of an aria that Don Jose sings for Carmen in Act 2. She and her friends are in a tavern drinking and dancing when he, recently released from jail, comes to the tavern looking for Carmen. He has saved the flower, which, though withered, has kept its fragrance. He remains under the flower's spell. By the way, the flowers in the original story were yellow acacias. However, a red rose or carnation is generally used in the modern productions. Here's tenor Jonas Kaufmann singing the Flower Song by Bizet.
choses, toi. Carmen, je
Next, we turn to Martha, or Marta, a very lighthearted comic opera that includes no sickness and no death. The composer is German musician Friedrich von Flotow, who wrote around 30 operas. And Martha, though, from 1847, was among his most popular ones due to its many, many beautiful melodies. It was popular in both Europe and America. Caruso sang the male lead in Martha at the Met in New York, and Jenny Lind, the famous Swedish nightingale, she sang the female lead in Europe. This opera is set in 19th century England when Lady Harriet is a lady in waiting in Queen Anne's court. And she's weary of court life and tired of being pursued by undesirable lovers. So Lady Harriet assumes the name of Nancy and retires to the countryside with another lady in waiting who assumes, Lady Harriet assumes the name Martha and retires to the countryside with another lady in waiting who assumes the name Nancy. So we have these two women who are completely unprepared for the outside world. And they happen upon the Richmond Fair, where on a whim they become indentured servants to two farmers. Martha's farmer is named Lionel. Martha's incompetence as a servant quickly becomes the source of much lighthearted humor. But as the story progresses, Martha finds herself falling in love with Lionel and he with her. One night, Lionel asks Martha to sing for him, and her song is a very sentimental Irish melody called The Last Rose of Summer. Including popular melodies in operas was common practice at this time. The words in the song are from an Irish poem about a surviving rose that symbolizes the despair of someone forced to live without the one they love. This poem was set to music by many other composers, including Beethoven, Gounod, and Britten. Fortunately, in this opera, the discovery of a long-lost ring proves that Lionel is actually the son of a nobleman, so our upper-class lady in waiting is able to marry the farmer she loves, and her upper-class friend has similar success, and the two couples celebrate with a double wedding. Here is The Last Rose of Summer from Martha.
Letzte Rose, wie magst du so
Our exploration of gardens and flowers ends with Candide, a comic operetta composed in 1956 by American composer Leonard Bernstein, who excelled not only as a composer, but as a conductor, pianist, writer, and educator. Many of us grew up watching his young people's concerts on our black and white TVs. Bernstein's operetta, Candide, was inspired by Voltaire's famous novella of the same name. He captured Voltaire's wit in what has been called a round-the-world satiric romp of idealistic optimism. Bernstein himself described the operetta in this way: Candide is an American Valentine to Europe. It's a pastiche, a salute to everything I love in Gilbert and Sullivan, in Offenbach, in Bellini even. His music is also a salute to the waltzes of Strauss, the chorales of Martin Luther, and the genius of Mozart. One critic even drew parallels with Mahler, calling Bernstein's finale to Candide a Mahleresque orchestral climax. Candide premiered in New York in 1956 with a libretto by Lillian Hellman. Some considered her words too heavy-handed for Bernstein's lighthearted music. A later book by Hugh Wheeler was considered closer to Voltaire's original intent. As you may recall, the character Candide is wedded to the notion of unquestioned optimism. While searching for his beloved Cunegonde, he undergoes a series of outrageous calamities in a variety of real and imagined countries. Eventually, Candide abandons the idea that this is the best of all possible worlds. Bernstein celebrates this idea in the opera's finale when Candide and Cunegonde sing, "We're neither wise nor pure nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow." Even Dr. Pangloss, you can recognize him by a mop of white hair, Candide's once optimistic teacher, seems to agree. And the new garden is open to all. Anyone who works hard can make the garden grow. Here are Broadway stars, Paul Groves as Candide, and he's also a crossover. He's an opera singer as well. And Kristen Chenoweth, and you may know her as Glinda the Good Witch in Wicked, as Cunegonde in the finale to Bernstein's Candide. This is a 2004 semi-staged production at Avery Fisher Hall with Marin Alsop conducting the New York Philharmonic.
We will seek a few modest little acres and build a small farm, and casting aside all vain speculations as to the meaning of this meaningless world, we will fulfill our function, working God's earth from dawn to dusk.
You've been a fool, and so have I, but come and be my wife, and let us try before we die to make
make some sense of life. We're neither pure nor wise nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow, and make our garden
I thought the world was sugar cake, for so our master said. But now I'll teach my hands to bake our loaf of daily bread.
We're neither pure nor wise nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build a house and chop our wood and make our garden grow, and make our Let's dream what words they please. Those eons can't be found. The sweetest flowers, the fairest trees are grown in solid
Any questions?
In conclusion, the excerpts you have seen and heard today stretch from 1847 to 1956. We find it very significant that there is a long history of flowers and gardens in opera. There are many more possible examples that we could have shown you. We were only limited by time and availability of excerpts. We did try to choose areas that are fairly well known, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation. Now I want to turn the microphone over to Galia Barker, who will speak about an opera theater event that is going on right now and available for streaming as part of Opera Theater's exciting program for the 2021 series.
Hi, thanks, Phyllis. Yes, indeed. Like all arts organization, opera theaters had to make some major adaptations to reach their audience during this pandemic. And one example of how they've adapted is what you see on your screen, the Pirates of Penzance. This is an opera on the go performance that was created for the schools, the local schools here in the St. Louis area. And this year, since they couldn't go into the schools in person, they turned one large area of the Opera Center into a recording studio and created a digital performance of the opera, which is actually much more elaborate than what they ordinarily would be able to take to the schools. It turned out to be extremely popular locally. The production proved so popular, 70 area schools featured it to more than 10,000 students. And they have not just, they don't just sit and watch the performance, they actually have an opportunity to interact with the singers and learn a little bit about costumes and makeup, and learn how do these opera singers make this big sound. They learn about breath control and those sorts of things. So it's a really fun interactive experience. But since it was so successful locally, they decided to expand it basically to the entire world, at least to the United States. And it was also seen in Europe and some other continents. It has now been seen by at least 82,000 students across 49 states and 9 different countries. It's a stunning example of adapting during a pandemic and reaching a much larger audience. Phyllis, you want to say something about the festival and
Yes.
what they're proposing?
Andrew Jorgensen, Executive Director of Opera Theater of St. Louis, has announced with great enthusiasm the confirmed season for this spring, which will be performed entirely outdoors and socially distanced on a newly constructed stage on the parking lot. They will present 4 different presentations. They are the first one, the picture you see, Gianni Schicchi by Puccini is a comic masterpiece of legal hijinks and family dysfunction. Then Highway 1 USA, that's the 4th picture, a long neglected treasure from the Dean of African American Composers, William Grant Still. Now the 2nd picture from the left that you see is La Voix Humaine, the human voice, by the 20th century French composer, Francis Poulenc. Love is on the line, literally on the telephone line, in this explosive one-woman drama, which will feature Patricia Rosset, a Met star and current director of our Young Artists program. Then the 3rd picture that you see is entitled New Works, Bold Voices Lab. So you're experiencing the future of opera with a suite of 3 world premieres by contemporary composers. And then on June 9th, we present Center Stage, which is a young artist showcase. So you get a chance to discover the stars of tomorrow at this one night only concert featuring members of the Jardine Young Artist Program. And then in honor of Juneteenth, this will occur on June 15th, a presentation called I Dream a World. It's a free event presented in partnership with the Missouri Historical Society. Each opera will be given 4 times, so 16 performances, plus the center stage and the concert in cooperation with the Missouri History Museum for Juneteenth. Tickets will go on sale May 3rd, and you can buy individual tickets for whatever you want to buy. Oh, we hope you will join us for these very exciting and unique programs.
As
Well,
you can,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Judy.
Go ahead, Galia. Oh, I was just going to say we can open it up for questions, and I'm going to turn it over to you. But we do had a couple of comments about that the opera's already sold out, and that they're going to add extra performances. So maybe you two know a little bit more about that. But they also in the comment, it's Bob Feibel, said that you can call the box office and see if you can get tickets, get them immediately, or else they're going to sell out again.
Well, you would
That's,
know.
that's true. I called today to get some extra tickets and I was put on a wait list. And they're having so many, a big demand for the performances for the tickets. And they're not presenting as many performances as before. So it's, in order to keep everybody as safe as possible, they have a lot of constraints they're operating under. But call and get your name on a wait list because there's still a possibility that you could get a ticket if you're lucky. I believe there was a question from Jeff Stiffman about the performers in some of the things that I talked to. The names are on the screen, but I didn't mention them. We can distribute this list, give it to you, Judy, and you can put it on your screen along with the recorded production if you want to.
Yeah, I can send it out. I can send the list of the performers and out to them to their email addresses. And it was recorded. So if you care to watch it again, it will be available on our website. And once I get that processed and onto our website, I can send you that link as well.
Very good. I see 7 chat questions. I don't know if there are any things that you'd like for us to answer.
Well, actually, there's their comments. Thank you so much. Harriet Snyder says, thank you so much for this enjoyable program. Cindy says, I love this. Thank you. Thanks, Phyllis and Galia. Another one says, very enjoyable. Congratulations on this excellent and entertaining program. I enjoyed the musical selections and the productions shown. And so that's what, there weren't any questions in the chat box, but if anyone does have a question, we could take those now, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like. I'm not seeing any questions. I think we are all mesmerized by the beauty and the music and everything. So thank you so very much. This was so enjoyable, Galia and Phyllis. And
Thank you.
it just, for those of us who love opera and those of us who are just getting introduced to opera, it was a beautiful, beautiful program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We enjoyed being here.
Beautiful
Thank you
program.
for your help, Judy,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
so much.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. And unless we have any other questions, I don't see any. We'll maybe see each other at the opera.
Hey,
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
bye, all.